Good evening, everybody. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com, or good middle of your morning, all of you who are asleep at 1:28 in the morning. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com, live in Welsh Ryan Arena here in Evansville, Illinois. I'm aware that Purdue won this game 70-64. How it all happened, I don't know, because it is really dark upstairs where I sit, and this is what my notes look like at the end of a game. It's bad enough that I have the handwriting of a 4-year-old in the first place, but when I can't see what I'm writing, things are even worse. I do know Purdue won 70-64. I don't know if I can do a lot more for you than that. This is your wrap video following that game. Thank you to the Purdue Club Hotel, home of the Boilermakers bar. My intern, Alan Karpick, and I will be appearing, for lack of a better term, haunting maybe, the Boiler Up Bar area on March 3rd for our Thursday Night Live show. We don't have a special guest host for it. It'll be me and Alan talking about Purdue basketball. Pretty much what I do all day anyway. It's just a matter of whether or not there's a camera running on me. So on March 3rd, there will be a camera running on me and Alan alike. We will be talking about Purdue basketball. Feel free to come on out, say hello. If not, watch it online. Whatever. Do what you want. Anyway, Purdue wins 70-64. I thought one really, really positive thing from this game was the first few minutes. I thought Purdue's energy defensively was some of the best I think you've seen all year. Purdue was all over the place. Northwestern is a very limited offensive team, shall we say, but it looked like Purdue had 6 guys on the floor from a defensive perspective to start this game. Purdue was really disruptive. They were getting their hands on a lot of passes. They were getting a lot of deflections, so on and so forth, some blocks. Northwestern was running around like a chicken with its head cut off collectively. I thought when you itemize Northwestern's offense, not just to start the game, but kind of throughout the first half, there was a tough contested pull-up 2-point jumper, I believe by Pete Nance, at the end of a broken possession where Purdue played some of the best defense it could have played. There was a 3-pointer later by Ty Berry after Ethan Morton deflected the pass right to him, almost stealing it the way he had just stolen one and gone the other way for a transition assist to Caleb First, if I recall correctly. I'd go back through my notes, but that wouldn't help me. I just thought Purdue was all over the place defensively, and I thought, I think Purdue was much better defensively against Maryland than anybody gave them credit for real time, myself included. That's my bad. I thought they weren't very good from a defensive perspective against Maryland. Went back and watched it, and I probably should have noticed that Maryland only scored 60 points and thought, hey, maybe they were better than I thought. But I didn't do that till the next day, and I thought they were pretty good against Maryland from a defensive perspective. I thought they were good today from a defensive perspective, too. The final score was 70-64, but Purdue led this game by 15 points in the final 6.5 minutes, 14 points with 3 minutes to go. Northwestern scored at least 9 of its points in like the last 2 minutes when, for whatever reason, Purdue couldn't make a free throw. Northwestern kept getting the line in scramble mode. They prettied this score up pretty good. This was officially a 6-point win, but I think in reality this was something more like a 12 to 15-point win. A good win for Purdue, an emphatic win by Purdue in some ways, and one that I thought they just had to kind of get the hell home to kind of get this stretch of 8 games in 21 days, or however you want to contour the numbers in terms of how many games they've played in how long a period of time. But 8 and 21 is the one I've been using. That's a lot of games. And I thought this was the tail end of it. I thought you saw some signs the last 2 games of a little bit of fatigue on Purdue's part, both mental and physical. And a day off is not going to transform Purdue overnight. They're not going to turn into, the late 90s Bulls all of a sudden because they finally got their day off. But it's been a long time coming, and I think these dudes just need a chance to chill, just to kind of unwind a little bit, just to kind of do nothing for a day. I'm sure a lot of them will come in and get shots up. I'm sure a lot of guys will get treatment and whatnot. but they've earned the right to do whatever the hell they want tomorrow, and just to kind of stay in bed all day if they want. I'm sure none of them will do that, so please don't get mad at me for saying that. Don't get mad at them for saying that. For me saying that, I should say. But I think that they just need a chance to take a deep breath, and they need a chance to get back to practicing. And I don't know if this even comes now, because you have a game coming this weekend, a really important game, by the way, with Rutgers coming in here on Sunday, or coming in there. I'm in Evanston, so when I say coming in here, that's inaccurate. I probably should be more aware of my surroundings. That's a really big game on Sunday, so it's not like Purdue can suddenly just kind of ease back into practice and kind of have more me time in practice than they've had, where they can just kind of work on their fundamentals and things like that. But they just need a chance to take a deep breath here. And I thought these last two games, were the sort of landmines you need to avoid if you want to win a Big Ten title. I've said this for many years. A lot of you people have heard this 100 times. Some of you who might be new are about to get really tired of hearing it. But you don't necessarily just win the Big Ten by beating the best teams in the league. You win the Big Ten by not losing to Nebraska on a Thursday night. You win the Big Ten by, not falling asleep and, all of a sudden losing to Maryland on your home floor, like, Purdue was very much in jeopardy of doing. The fact that Purdue got through these, that they elevated their level of play when they needed to get through otherwise close games. I thought that the final few minutes of the first half tonight was one of those deals where Purdue had an opportunity to really blow this game open, kind of going into halftime, go into the break up 10, 12 points, whatever it might be, and be in real control of this game. I thought that opportunity kind of got away from them. They missed a couple of shots. Jeff Greer comes out of a timeout, throws up a frozen turkey on the rim, hits the front of the rim. Northwestern gets the roll that, Purdue wasn't getting all game. And I thought that was a really big shot, because that was the difference between, Purdue potentially having a double-digit lead at half and only being up 4. I thought that was kind of one of those slippery slope moments there. To Purdue's credit, they came out in the second half and they dominated. And I thought Purdue was good defensively all game long. Once again, the three-pointers swooped in like Batman to save the day. Purdue started making timely shots. But you know what? Purdue could have shot poorly in the second half too, and probably still won this game because of the way they guarded and the way that they were able to get to the foul line for some cheap points. It says a lot about Purdue here that you're able to win this game without, obviously Jaden Ivey had his second rough game consecutively here. That being said, if I could read my notes, I would point out to you that he made a couple of really big plays in that second half too. That end one early in the second half, there was an assist on one of Mason Gillis's threes. That was a really, really nice play. I know All-Americans are gauged by the total body of work, but I'm just telling you that in another one of his worst games of the season, he made some really big plays here too. Sasha Stefanovic never really got it going. He made 1 3 in the second half, but this is not what Purdue's accustomed to. The three-point shooting in the first half didn't go the way Purdue's needed it to for the second game in a row. But Purdue did a lot more than just outscoring people, to win these last two games. And that was a really positive sign for them because, come back from that loss at Michigan, and it sure looked like a team that was just wanting to outscore a bunch of people. And, as we've talked about many times over the years, that their energy has been derived from their scoring. But tonight at Northwestern, their energy was picture perfect before a basket had even been scored. And I think that was a really, really positive sign for Purdue. I think their opportunity now to kind of take a little bit of a deep breath, have, 4 days between games instead of 2, instead of 3, I think is a positive thing. I would think that this is going to help Purdue to a certain extent. Again, they're not going to turn into the late 90s Bulls just because they finally get a day off after 3 weeks, but it's better than the alternative. It's better than leaving Northwestern on a Wednesday night knowing you have to turn right around and play on Friday. Has that happened at all this year? I can't remember any Friday night games. Anyway, I thought this was a really positive game for Purdue. I thought this was, obviously a team they should beat. I think Northwestern is really offensively challenged. I think Northwestern's just not very good. I think their guard play is extremely flawed. I think Pete Nance is a really good player that Northwestern inexplicably doesn't use. I'll never understand how you have a player as gifted as Pete Nance who can be the matchup problem he is, and he ends a game with 8 shots. I'll never understand it. It was the same way in Mackey Arena. I know he got in foul trouble, but even when he was on the floor, they don't run anything through him. They don't seem to really do anything with him. I know Purdue has a lot of respect for what Northwestern does offensively. If it were me, I would take my biggest asset, my best player, my most gifted player, a guy who's got a chance to play in the NBA with his brother, and I would use that player. And that player would touch the ball every single time down the floor. But what do I know? I'm just the guy who talks in his computer at the end of games with the cleaning crew listening. But I thought Purdue did a really good job on Boo Buie. He didn't get any numbers until late when the game was decided, basically. I thought they did a really good job on Pete Nance. They did a good job on Chase Audige. Chase Audige did a really good job on Chase Audige by getting in foul trouble, too. But, the one thing, Purdue's got to clean up the defensive glass a little bit. The numbers don't really reflect it, but if you watch the game, you saw Northwestern get more offensive rebounds than Northwestern should probably get. A lot of them were situations where Purdue, lunged for the ball, got one hand on it. Probably weren't situations where you can get 2 hands on it. So it's not like, I don't know if there was a lot of dereliction of duty on the defensive glass on Purdue's part, but that might be one of those signs that Purdue was a little bit fatigued. The energy to start the game would seem to belie that, but maybe that did show up a little bit on the glass, as it has been a little bit. I think Jaden Ivey is the guy who might be a little bit worn down. That being said, I said the same thing about Mason Gillis because he had missed his last 7 3-pointers prior to tonight, and he comes out in the second half and basically changes the game. He's one of those guys where you expect every shot to go in because his form is so kind of picturesque, and he's been so consistent all year long that I kind of wondered if maybe he would miss 7 in a row and then make 9 in a row. Obviously, the 9 in a row was snapped by his miss there in the second half, but as they say, water finds its level, and I think really good shooters find their levels. I think obviously Mason Gillis did that today. I think Jaden Ivey is due a couple of breakout games here the rest of the way, and I think Purdue's in a pretty good spot here to come through this pretty grueling stretch of games, all high stakes games. As I've said many times here before, not every game is created equal. When you're Purdue and you're number 3 in the country and you have to prepare for Illinois, one of the most physical teams out there, and that's a really viscerally stimulating game, that is more taxing than Michigan having to go play at Penn State. And you saw what happened when Michigan went and had to play at Penn State. They, just barely escaped with a win, which Michigan State could not do, by the way, yesterday. I think Purdue set up pretty well here from a Big Ten race perspective. I think the Big Ten is going through the rack once again. I think Rutgers is a really tough team to beat on their home floor. They're a tough team to beat anywhere right now, and that's going to be a really big game for Purdue on Sunday. But Purdue has gotten the help it has needed from Rutgers. They knocked Wisconsin back a game. They knocked Illinois back a game. Now Purdue can only hope they don't knock Purdue back a game here. But, Purdue has dug itself back out from that 1-2 start to the Big Ten season, and has to feel pretty good about things in terms of their chances to at least share that title here in a couple weeks. Obviously, Purdue's going to have to go on the road for some tough games. Michigan State is swooning. That doesn't mean that's going to be easy. Wisconsin's going to be a tough out in the Kohl Center, obviously, but Purdue's put itself in the best position probably that reasonably could have been expected after that game in Bloomington. So it's kind of what I got from Northwestern. I thought this was a really good win for Purdue. I thought it was a more emphatic win for Purdue than 70-64 reflects, and I think Purdue's sitting pretty right now to a certain extent. So that's what I got. Thank you to the Purdue Union Club Hotel and the Boiler Up Bar for your support. If there were a Purdue Union Club Hotel in Evanston, Illinois, that's where I'd be staying. Not just tonight, but probably tomorrow. I think I'm spending an extra day up here, unfortunately. Nothing against Evanston. I just would prefer to be working in my home as opposed to a hotel room. So thanks, everybody.